Greetings, fellow Amblamites. Tiki here.
And BlueDragonFive.
And SandyClaws.
And welcome to season 3 of Spielberg. Since Steven Spielberg doesn't do audio commentary on his own work, we do it for him. After all he's done for us, it's the least we can do for him. Of course, we select 5 films from his vast catalog of work to commentate on. So let's adventure into nostalgic and alien alike. And while you're on the hook, let's bridge the gap between history and cinema on Spielberg. Oh man. Okay, guys, this might be one of the most contentious Spielberg month episodes that we've had since The Terminal. I can feel it in my bones. The roles have been reversed here. This is a movie that I love that I don't think Dragon is too keen on.
I'm probably right there in between you guys.
Interesting. It's going to be a fun conversation. So here's my thesis statement on War of the Worlds, which is the movie that we're covering tonight. War of the Worlds, I think, is one of the most underappreciated Steven Spielberg movies. I think most people kind of write it off as sort of like Spielberg doing like the blockbuster disaster movie trope. And while that might be true to a certain extent, my God, does Spielberg elevate the disaster movie? I think this movie is honestly kind of like Christopher Nolan style movie, where not in the sense of like it's a kaleidoscope of storytelling or anything like that, just in the sense of the sheer realism that this movie pulls off. I think this movie is brilliant for all the grittiness, all the set pieces, and just generally how it's a parable for post 9/11 paranoia that also kind of like holds a mirror up to post 9/11 paranoia, to the paranoia that was caused by the original radio play to begin with. I feel like that's a really fascinating kind of thesis statement for the piece. And overall, to me, there's just too many like really memorable, really gut-wrenching white knuckle set pieces in this movie to think it's bad. It's definitely not a perfect story by any means, and the character of Robbie is definitely a problem. I'm sure we'll be talking about Robbie throughout the podcast. But like I said, to me, this is a Spielberg movie of set pieces, and my God, do the set pieces, like, this might be just self-contained. I really do feel like this movie is in the top 5 of Spielberg movies when it comes to just sheer set pieces and blockbuster spectacle. I really do. And I think it's really underrated in that regard. Definitely not the best characters piece that Spielberg ever done. But I'd say it's among the best sheer popcorn movies that Spielberg's ever done.
Yeah.
All right, Sandy, why don't we go to you and then kind of build to Dragon?
Okay. I'm kind of picking up some feedback here.
Yeah, Tiki, I think you might need to turn your volume down a little bit.
Actually, I'm gonna do you one better. I'm actually gonna plug in headphones. So let me mute my mic.
That would be a welcome idea. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm really not sure when the first time I saw this movie was, but it was some years ago. I don't think I recognized it as a Steven Spielberg movie when I first saw it. I think I just picked it up off the family video shelf and took it home because it looked interesting. And I love aliens. Tiki definitely hit the nail on the head with the paranoia. Watching this movie, it gives you this this, at least for me, this for the first time when I first saw it, this kind of not Jurassic Park type, butterflies in your stomach type paranoia, but just I'm not sure how to describe it, but I liked it, and I still like it. I definitely do not hate it. But it could be better. It could be a lot better. I like the designs, and the acting isn't too bad. Tom Cruise is I'd say this is probably one of my one of the better performances of his in my honest opinion. That's it.
Okay. All right. So here's the interesting thing, folks. So the 2000s was a very interesting period for Spielberg. He's kind of feeling a sci-fi oats for the most part. I mean, I know we have the Terminal in there, but I'm just saying, aside from that, really, aside from that, and Catch Me If You Can, so we'll splash of Tom Hanks in there. Aside from that, a lot of sci-fi Spielberg in the 2000s, and specifically with the Tom Cruise movies. Until we had done Minority Report, one of the previous, I think it was last
Can
year.
you guys hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, I got my headphones in. We should be good to go.
Right. So basically, until last year, I'd seen little bits of Minority Report, and I'd watched it last year, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected to. And War of the Worlds was, of course, the other kind of Tom Cruise Spielberg collaboration, and again, I never really had gone back to War of the Worlds. I never really, I'd heard about it, seen clips of it. I never had any interest in seeing the remake of War of the Worlds. I'm not saying it like as an elitist War of the Worlds fan. I mean, look, I like the radio play. I love the story on the radio play, and I listen to the radio play. So again, I have familiarity with that. So I like that story, and I like that whole concept. So I love the story and concept. I haven't read the books. I mean, that's kind of where I'm coming at, and I'd seen parts of the 50s film, which I did enjoy. But so I've seen parodies and parodies of War of the Worlds, and I don't know if that maybe soured me on it. I just never felt like it was never had any compulsion to see it. So we sat down to this. I kind of watched it for the first time, honestly, the first kind of honest viewing of it. And I tell you, it was a rough one.
Man. Oh God.
I mean, look, the most recent thing I'd seen of War of the Worlds, that sparked my interest, honestly, was the Spielberg documentary they did on HBO, which kind of clips from War of the Worlds. They're like, oh my God, it looks really interesting. Spielberg might have done something. Maybe I overlooked this. And there are bits I like, but I tell you, on the whole, I would agree with something Tiki said, and that this is kind of, I think I'm in the consensus. It feels like the most kind of Hollywood. It's like Spielberg trying to capture like the blockbuster magic that he just kind of lucked into with something like a Jaws. I'm not saying it's trying to be Jaws. I'm just saying it felt like kind of a shoehorn, kind of like it's Spielberg doing a Hollywood blockbuster. It just didn't. It just felt like, oh, Steven, what are you doing? Man, this doesn't feel like you. It feels like it feels like a studio movie.
Wow.
So I really there are bits I like, and there are a lot of missed opportunities in this. I was really not feeling this one.
Dragon, you're killing me. You're killing me.
Yep.
I was hyping this one up.
And again, I was watching it hoping you knew what you were talking about. I think the bits that you were talking about, I think you make a lot of sense with. Just everything else, though, aside from the bits that you were really hyping up for me, I just like, oh my God, it's falling on dead ears.
All right, folks. So there we are. I feel like this is going to be a really good conversation because we kind of got the person who loves the movie and thinks it's an underrated Spielberg gem. We had the person that really likes the movie but admits there's a lot of flaws with it. And we had the person who just really, Dragon, would you wager to say it's one of your least favorite Spielberg movies?
Here's the thing. I don't know if it's all time, but at least out of all the ones we've done Spielberg, absolutely this is the lowest one.
I hope it's not all time.
That's the thing. I can't really, well, again, I got to rewatch a few of Spielberg movies, but let's just say I think it's low on the grand scheme, but definitely have Spielberg month. It's rock bottom on Spielberg month.
Wow.
I'm talking like it's like below, like the alien ships. It's been buried for years. It's just.
Oh man. Okay. Well, I feel like this podcast just turned into a debate because I really feel strongly for this movie. So that's how we're gonna do it. Dragon, any background for this thing that you got?
Well, yes. So Spielberg loved working with Tom Cruise on Minority Report, and the story behind that movie is he always wanted to collaborate with Tom Cruise, and they were always doing different things. So eventually, they collaborated, and they had such a good time on that movie. Spielberg had pitched them a couple projects. So we should work together again, Tom. And he comes at him with, he throws him this one of the various projects that Spielberg's probably thrown like almost every day. He's presented with War of the Worlds, and he kind of suggests that Tom Cruise, oh my God, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. I'd love to be part of like a War of the Worlds remake. You know, it hasn't really been done since the 50s. It's kind of it's a blank canvas. Let's do it, man. I don't know if it exactly played out like that. I'm just kind of interpreting, but essentially that's what happened there. Even J.J. Abrams wanted in, but he was busy with Lost at the time. I think early Lost, I'm not entirely sure. The pilot, maybe. Did he do
the pilot? Was really the only thing that J.J. Abrams had active involvement in, to tell you the truth. And yes, he directed the pilot.
I'm pretty sure that was it then. I think it was directly that pilot. I think he was busy with that because he wanted in on this. And he's just, well, I'm doing the pilot to Lost. So we'll see each other again. J.J.
And you know what? The pilot to Lost is probably the best thing that J.J. Abrams has ever directed.
Oh, God. Oh, gee.
I'm not saying that in a facetious way. I'm saying that in like, it's a damn good fucking 2 hours of television. Like, it's a masterpiece of storytelling.
It's pretty good, yeah.
Of course, War of the Worlds, as I kind of hinted at, we've had roughly, of course, they got some off-brand kind of adaptations, like I believe the Asylum film company, they did like a take on War of the Worlds, one of the off-brand ones. But mainly you have the radio show, the 50s film, and you have this. And of course, the big draw of War of the Worlds is that it was the famous story that Orson Welles told on the radio that people who tuned in later, basically, if they kind of hid it behind some ads, like like the start of a radio show. So people would come into it and they'd think, "Oh my God, the events are actually happening. We're being invaded." And Wells was so confident, so excited about what he was doing. Essentially, they were pulling like an April Fool's Day joke on Halloween, essentially. The day before Halloween, I think it was like started the 30th and kind of wrapped up by like midnight or something. So it kind of turned into. Kind of the ultimate Halloween prank. Point is, everyone freaked out, and like Orson Welles, he kept stretching and stretching before they had to cut the commercial and come back and say, "Okay, back to War of the Worlds." And they got in so much trouble, and it essentially made Welles' career because of this. Everyone like knew Orson Welles' name because his name was all over the newspapers, and of course, this leads to Citizen Kane, so on and so forth. So War of the Worlds is very important in the history of Hollywood in the grand scheme of things. So War of the Worlds is very important. Of course, the film they wanted him to make was an adaptation of. That was like the first project they wanted. And of course, he said, "No, screw that noise, Citizen Kane, yeah." And of course, it's always been kind of like on people's minds. You get the 50s movie, and of course, which famously has the Simon-faced versions of the aliens, which I like, by the way. I always thought that was like, oh, it's kind of cute. Like there are these kind of cool-looking, practical 50s B-movie aliens with these Simon faces, which of course Spielberg having done Close Encounters, big kind of Simon in the sky with the ships.
Sure.
Anyway, so Spielberg, in making this movie, he wanted to do the opposite of E.T., which is very interesting. Of course, I believe this is his third Alien picture, so he wanted to do something really different with it. He's done kind of the artistic one with Close Encounters. He's done kind of the emotional one with E.T., and it's all friendly and whimsical. Now, let's do the opposite. Where in early drafts of E.T., there's a little bit more of a cynical edge. Well, if not cynical edge, there's more of like, aliens might have been a little bit more menacing. Basically a menace with an alien tale at the very beginning. So we kind of, let's go back to that. Yeah, let's kind of tell that story. And War of the Worlds would be the perfect place to tell that kind of story. So Spielberg and Cruise, they felt really passionate about this project, and they postponed some other projects like Munich and Mission Impossible 3. They kind of put them on hold to work on this.
Mm-hmm.
So Spielberg, in making this movie, basically made a list of kind of been there, done that with the other two alien movies, and so he wouldn't repeat himself, and he brought in David Koepp on this. I believe David Koepp. He's been with him since Jurassic Park, maybe earlier. I think it's the one that really made David Koepp and Spielberg's kind of recurring partnership. Regardless, David Koepp, he interestingly kind of big crossover between Cruise and Spielberg. He worked on Mission Impossible and Jurassic Park, along with the Indiana Jones 4, and he directed a film I really like, Premium Rush. So, yay, David Koepp.
I still have to see that one.
Yeah, I highly recommend, because Michael Shannon's in it too, and he plays this great character. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy but fun. So anyway, so it's the point is David Koepp, working on Crystal Skull. It's a mixed bag sometimes with David Koepp, and he's done the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, one of a few writers though, I think. You get your David Koepp and you got your Indiana Jones 4. So I think this film kind of falls somewhere, let's say, in the middle, debatably. Anyway, so
okay, well, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, let's pump the brakes here. This is not a worse movie than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
that's what I'm saying. It's debatable, but again, there's always that question
Or
of
The
how.
Lost World, for that matter.
Yeah, you're right. Did right. Well, I don't know if he wrote that one though, but.
Well, okay, and I'm saying, like, for the Spielberg month of it all, this is a better movie than Lost World.
Yeah, I guess. Maybe. Yeah, I think. I don't know. Yeah, it's not a sequel.
Sarah!
That's what I'm saying. Like, I have Sarah and Joanne Moore really kind of hurts that movie, but I mean, I don't know. It's a kind of sequel versus an. Anyway, let's just get. The point is that's the background, so let's just get into it.
Okay. So, folks, with this one, I definitely think, much like Hook, this is going to be something where you don't really necessarily need to watch the movie to enjoy the conversation. I think really Dragon and I are going to be kind of exchanging blows with one another for 2 hours on this one. But if you want to watch along with us, go ahead and get your copy of the movie ready to go at timestamp 00. I'm going to count up to 3 and say go. And when I say go, we're all going to press play on whatever device we happen to be watching this on. All right, you guys ready to make right like Robbie and run towards the wall of fire?
Yes, Tiki.
Why not?
All right, let's do it. War of the Worlds in 1, 2, 3, go! We had a very long and meandering conversation about the DreamWorks logo before we went on air.
It's kind of weird saying it before a big Spielberg drama.
Well, it's interesting that Spielberg has had different eras of production studios where, you know, originally it was all about Universal. It seems like he's kind of gravitated away towards Universal, except in maybe a producing capability.
He still says that's like his home. Universal's like his home.
Again, that's where he got his start. He snuck onto the film set and everything. It's like his legacy. It's like his kind of his fraternity, kind of his old hometown of filmmaking. You know, so it's
sure. But as we already noted, the 2000s were very much the DreamWorks era for Spielberg, and I find that very interesting. And to me, the 2000s might be one of my favorite eras of Spielberg, just from a historical point of view. Just because it's kind of the era where Spielberg is doing more of the experimental type stuff, but also kind of sticking to his roots a little bit. And with that in mind, I really do feel like this movie is kind of a great marriage of those two concepts, where we've got some really hard-hitting social commentary in this movie, but we've also got Dragon, as you said, a very solid popcorn blockbuster movie. And honestly, I feel like the marriage there is pretty good. Like, because throughout the movie, there's scenes where I'm just like, fuck humanity. Just fuck it. Humanity is doomed. We just cannot coexist. We're gonna crumble like ants. And for a movie to give me that kind of visceral reaction, I think they're doing something right.
Real quick, I just want to say this opening is very well shot. I mean, I think one of the best shot sequences in the movie is just like this opening feels so. I don't know. It looks different than the rest of the movie. I just really like the red kind of we transition from like the dewdrop that becomes the earth, and that goes like a red light, and all that was great. And I do respect. We'll give credit where credit's due by all means. Like I like what Spielberg's going for with kind of this bookend about kind of the germ, and we're planting these interesting seeds of the idea where, you know, essentially the punchline of War of the Worlds is that, you know, the aliens, they invade, and of course, unless they terraform the planet, they would die in the kind of the bacteria and the germs of the planet. That's kind of the big kind of cool punchline of the story, at least. And we kind of foreshadow that here, and there's another bit I really like in the writing. We do this other bit of foreshadowing. Unfortunately, I don't think we really pay that off enough, but we have good setup on it. So
we have some great camera shots in here. These are like this one here.
This is actually a really impressive opening shot here with kind of this large zooming helicopter shot to Tom Cruise. And I love how it's just like Tom Cruise, like action star doing a very mundane job. It's just like Tom Cruise, construction worker.
By the way, of course, we had Morgan Freeman as our as our narrator, and I got to tell you, I think that's them. I think it's Spielberg trying to capture a bit of the radio show there. Like kind of a bit of Orson Welles homage there.
Mm.
I would have loved if it got Maurice LaMarche. I would have been perfect. I'm saying with the
Oh
Ambler
my
and the
God,
Tiny
that
Toons
would
of
have
it
been.
all.
What's up with Hollywood's bias against like animation voice actors? It really bothers me.
That really would have been the ultimate tribute because you would have gotten like the closest thing you can have to Orson Welles.
Well, it'd be like getting it'd be like getting Corey Burton for Paul Frees. It's like it's that close.
Exactly. So, by the way, just to speak to what you were talking about, TK, I do agree. Like the theme of overpopulation within this setup and everything. I think one of the great setups for the panic and everything later on is that we have this omnipresent setup where we're going to see kind of the friendly New Jersey and then kind of New Yorker attitude going on there. There's a sense of community, there's a sense of friendliness, and as we go further and further like away from New York, again, it's a very post 9/11 movie that way. It's like as we go further away from New York, things get more desperate and people get more they turn on each other and more panic stricken and dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely I really appreciate what he's going for there. So I think all the panic stuff, I think that's very well executed. The paranoia specifically, I guess.
And I mean, look, I'm not gonna. I really like this movie a lot, but let's talk about the weak point in this movie,
exactly.
which is clearly the characters.
Yeah, the first 15 minutes really hurts this movie.
I'm not even talking about the first 15 minutes. I'm talking about the characters in general. All the characters in this movie are bogus.
What's up with the glow the street has?
I think Spielberg got a little bit too cocksure with his spotlights.
Like in the next shot, like in the very next shot, there's no glow at all.
We had a bit of this with a Minority Report. And again, I swear to God, that's just kind of like 2000 sci-fi Spielberg, and you get a bit of that AI. I think.
Yeah, Sandy, he's right. It is kind of like a 2000 Spielberg signature.
When he did sci-fi, he just had that really weird glow in places. It's all over the place in Minority Report, but it kind of fits better. And AI, I can't recall at all how the glow worked.
AI, I'm sure it's in there.
I know it's there. I just can't remember if it's all in the third act or if it's like throughout. I can't.
No, I'm pretty sure it's throughout.
Sure. Okay, now that's the thing. All of this
also Dragon AI, far worse movie than this.
Well, you're not wrong there, but I mean that one has more of an interesting kind of reasons for why things went wrong.
It does, but that doesn't make it objectively a better movie.
I know. I'm not arguing with you with that, or I'll say I didn't say this is the worst.
This whole podcast is just going to boil down to listing Spielberg movies that are worse than this.
Look, I'm sure 1941's nothing to sneeze at. Right? Okay, Mike, let's get back to the movie here. So again, this first 15 minutes here's the problem. It's all character before we get like the movie really starts with
So you mean like a movie? You mean like story structure?
I'm saying your point about the characters is a sequence with
like
all characters.
Jurassic Park, Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T. All these movies have characters
characters that work.
Yeah,
not this movie.
Go ahead.
Anyway, so I think one of my biggest problems overall is we see Cruise. He's a real.
Cruise is a very, very shitty dad throughout the whole movie, and he doesn't make an effort to get better.
The most negative portrayal of Spielberg's daddy issues in a movie.
Yes, but I feel like that negative portrayal is kind of appropriate for this particular movie.
I mean, look, I'm sure there's a realism in how we portray the pain of divorce, and we do nail that with like the ball scene later on. It's like, yeah, I mean, again, it's not nice, but it's what happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but I do think we kind of, especially in places later on. Here's my biggest gripe with the movie. So I think Cruise worked really well in Minority Report. Again, he impressed me in Minority Report. I really liked him in that. However, here, all over the place, and specifically when things start to go wrong, we just see again a guy who's not really cut out for fatherhood, and that's kind of what they show there.
Which I feel like is kind of the point of his character, but I'm not arguing that it's not really very well done.
My issue is that Cruise, he kind of plays the parody of Tom Cruise that we have that's kind of famous in this movie, and I think that's kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really. I think it's working counterintuitive to what Spielberg's trying to tell about kind of this father not ready for fatherhood. He's just playing like when things are going.
Basically, it's kind of like Tom Cruise is sort of in Mission Impossible mode when he should be in Magnolia mode.
I think that's a good comparison. If not, then it's just kind of it's Cruise like, hey, it's like the whole jumping on Oprah's couch Tom Cruise in a movie where he's supposed to play like a character. Instead, he's just playing Tom Cruise. It's kind of like the world's coming down around him.
Right.
That's the thing, because later on there's this scene where he's all smiles during the panic, and it's like, okay, this is getting kind of uncomfortable.
That's the thing about Tom Cruise in this movie. I'll definitely not deny that. Tom Cruise has a freaking shit-eating grin through like at least 50% of this runtime, which is ridiculous.
I guess one of my biggest issues, just by proxy of Cruise, like he's our lead in this, and a part of me wonders. I think Spielberg was in a position in this movie. I think War of the Worlds, of course, you could have taken some lyrics, you could have changed some stuff. It's the thing; it's not really nailed to a wall in terms of how you adapt it.
Sure.
And I think the reason this film really didn't strike it for me, and again, I'm not speaking like how it struck everyone else, but at least for me, I felt Spielberg pushed maybe his sensibilities when he should have. Like his sensibilities, like it's like a family story, father, sons, and again, father's relationship to his kids, which again we've seen him do a lot better in other places. I think he tried that where he should have taken a risk and did like a reporter, like a news crew or something. Like later on we have a news crew, and I think maybe that movie might have been a little bit more interesting. But again,
I think that movie would have been more interesting, Dragon. You're right.
That's what I'm saying. It's the missed opportunity where it feels like, we kind of he's done this a lot. Better.
And even then we could have done daddy issues. Like we could have had it like Hook, where the main character is like an overworked father, and he's like covering a really important assignment, but he's gonna miss his kid's baseball game. Like we could still work in all the Hallmark Spielberg tropes that we love so much.
I think what he's going for, and I'm speculating here, I don't know. I think what he's going for is that Ray was a guy who initially he took fatherhood, he rolled with that punch, and this is a guy who's just not ready for fatherhood. That hence the divorce, and basically we saw like fatherhood through a guy he's not prepared for it. But I still want to see some likability. I need to see some room to grow. I'm not seeing any room to grow at the top here. It's just these guys he's pissed off by these kids, and I can't blame him honestly in places.
Robbie is insufferable. I mean, as much as I'll defend the movie, Robbie might be one of the single worst Spielberg characters in the long catalog of Spielberg characters.
I can't stand Robbie either.
I think Dakota Fanning is good. I think she has a good performance. However, I will say this, on a rewatch though, she doesn't do it for me as much as she did on the first watch.
Dakota Fanning, I will say there's moments where she's a little much.
Yeah.
But however, I feel like that kind of speaks to the realism at play in this movie, and that what I love about Dakota Fanning in this movie is that she very much represents kind of the loss of innocence in a situation like this, where you're going to see fucked up shit if you're in a situation like this, and it is going to scar you, and it is going to cause you to just mentally and emotionally break down, especially if you're a child. And that's what we see. Go ahead.
Big missed opportunity. Of all the SpongeBob episodes they could have picked, why didn't they go with Wormy? Like the one that's all about the out of all the
that would
episodes,
have been great.
Literally, he goes with like the one about the secret box. Why didn't you go with Wormy?
Although to be fair, I love the secret box episode.
Yeah, it's great. I know. I'm just saying, literally, it's like you can't get any better than that with Wormy, though.
God.
Well, it's like they're in a bubble and everything. The force field. That's a mistake.
SpongeBob seems to be like the go-to for cartoons and movies.
It really is.
Plus, they have a deal with Paramount. That's why they got SpongeBob.
Oh, that's right.
At least I think. I'm pretty sure it's a deal.
Okay, yeah, but what Sandy's saying is like it's not like you ever see like the Fairly Odd Parents in a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point, especially now.
Well, if it's my decision, I probably want to put Dexter's Lab in there just because.
Well, Dexter's Lab isn't Paramount, but
okay, real quick. Now here's the big setup I was talking about. I really like this setup though about the whole infection. This is a good way of setting up the germ idea of like she gets a splinter and says it's going to get infected.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that to me was really good setup. My problem again later on problem is just that the payoff doesn't really land the way it should land. It's but again, it's really well set up here and with that full circle, Morgan Freeman opening.
So I think it's kind of annoying that that Rachel spends this long to tell him that Robbie took the car.
Yeah, that's what honestly, just a lot of this 15 minutes, it's kind of either cringy or it's just kind of like we have to tread this territory to establish a family, or again,
Okay,
we just
yeah,
have.
but when this movie gets going, my God, it gets going.
And I'll give you that. I love when the movie gets going. Like I'm not sure it's 50 minutes on the dot, but it's like like.
Well, we'll time it out. We'll time it out because there's a very specific moment where it really starts up.
You're talking about the lightning, right?
I mean, I was more talking about the big set piece in front of the church.
Oh, sure. I mean, I'm just saying in general. I'd say okay, now like things are they're getting started. Like, when it comes out, like honestly, this point forward is like okay, like this into the whole like we had to get out of town thing. I think works in as all. So again,
like I like kind of the gradual build to humanity losing its shit.
Yeah.
Because right now it's kind of just like awe and wonder. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh, what is that? I don't see weather like this in July.
Yeah, don't see weather like that at all.
Right.
And again, like this is you got some good visuals here. It's something that we recognize in the world, but there's like something a little off about it with like the wind going the wrong way, and again, the post 9/11, like the sense of community and like kind of. I know we start in New Jersey when he's a construction worker. He's like in the New Jersey area. I think he's in New York now.
I think so too. Because we see New York in the background in that opening scene.
Yeah, I mean the point is like again he's in kind of that friendly kind of New York kind of like that kind of neighborly sentiment. And again, as things get more and more stressed, as we get further and further away from New York, I mean, you definitely tell there's like a lot of love for New York in this. So again, it definitely feels even more than Minority Report. It feels the most kind of post 9/11 of the Spielberg movies.
Oh yeah, big time.
And again, this is where I'm liking kind of like the father's trying like, hey, let's take in a spectacle. It's the 4th of July. It's that's like lightning. Oh, don't be afraid. It's probably like he's about to tell like the whole lightning trick of like you count like until you hear the thunder and then the lightning comes down. Of course, later on, one of my favorite bits is when he says, "There's no thunder." That's a great bit.
And again, I like how Cruz is just kind of like at this point. I think the shitting and grin Cruise is appropriate in the movie still.
Yeah, it's just later on where it gets like, okay, this is just the parody of Tom Cruise.
right.
Like, and this is if we're gonna do a family story, it's like when it starts to kind of get interesting for me. Okay, we honestly just could have had him like as a single parent on it at this point. I don't know.
You know what? I really do feel strongly that this movie would have been way better if the Robbie character would have just been cut.
Again, Robbie, it's probably best not as a family, but again, it's working what we have. It could have worked in a different capacity.
I'm just saying, if it would have just been a simple father-daughter road movie.
Yeah, because Rob, boy, we're gonna rant about that kid later on.
I mean, we will. Look, we will, and I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Trust me.
Okay, well, one issue I do have with Rachel.
Robbie has approximately one good moment in the whole movie.
There is one recurring thing of Rachel overall that does bug me, though. She asks a lot of obvious questions. I get that she's a kid, but it's like a writing thing. We repeat the same question like 3 times within the scene.
This might be like a nitpick, but I also feel like Dakota Fanning at that point was already super famous, which kind of goes against the grain of Spielberg children casting.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way. I think you're right.
I mean, I think that might be one of the reasons why Dakota Fanning feels a little off in this movie. Is that honestly, I feel like it's because she's a little bit too well trained. If I'm being honest, because I feel like most of the Spielberg kid actors just kind of have this natural charisma to them, whereas Dakota Fanning feels a little bit more like Hollywood manufactured. You know what I mean? And not to say that she's bad,
sure.
But
she's just too good.
I think she honestly, it's either she's too good or she needs better writing. It's one of those two things. I don't know, because again, the writing's like she's just really repetitive, but she's doing a good job though. That's why I'm in conflict with, maybe too good a job. Like this writing's beneath her. I don't know, it's something. It's like
the camera work in this movie is very interesting.
And Spielberg has his usual players working on this. Like I know Janusz Kaminski's I believe his cinematographer. Like he's working on that. So yeah, I do love this lightning idea. By the way, I think they could have made it a little simpler, but I mean, on the whole, it's a good idea. The whole lightning essentially is. I was hoping the lightning would be like it would recharge and like kind of restart the thing that things that are dormant within the earth. But in reality, when they do the freeze frame later on, like it shows like a little tube goes down there to like it's the aliens boarding the craft. To me, either it's fine. It's a cool idea. There's the whole lightning kind of starter thing.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, sorry, it's the
I will also say Robbie is the cause of like maybe one of the single biggest Spielberg plot holes.
What's that?
I kind of want to wait. I kind of want to build to it.
Sure.
Because it's not till like towards the end of the movie.
And this is a cool visual. The idea, like it's like an EMP effect, so all the cars have gone dead. At least all the batteries, I guess, have been gone dead or something, or probably the electronics in the car. But the point is, they're all dead, and like have all these people kind of begin a sense of community. Like when you have like a really bad traffic jam, we're all kind of walking around, and you can ask him what's up.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like this setup. So this is an idea that we did set up well here, where we saw our guys. He's a nice car. He's kind of a motorhead. He has like the engine on the kitchen table. Therefore, he'd be the only guy who would know how to fix the car. So like it would be one of the only functioning cars. So I do like that. We saw that and we kind of expressed that. And of course, he has a friend who's a mechanic. So
I'm really glad that they actually take the time to put that setup in there instead of just like they miraculously come upon the one working car in the city. Thank God, it's a miracle.
Yeah. Okay, here's something funny. So one of these guys that's gonna buddy up to Ray here, like this guy on the left.
Yes.
This is so this guy. He's a Rick Gonzalez. He is a wild dog from the Arrow show, the Green Arrow show.
Oh God!
Season 5.
Okay.
So season 5, Tiki.
Oh man!
And trust me, he's one of the reasons season 5 is like, ugh.
Oh really? Really?
I'm saying, I'm sure he has his fan base, but all these characters have a fan base.
That's actually hilarious that guy is just randomly in this War of the Worlds movie from
I think a double
10 plus years ago.
Spielberg is secretly a big fan of his.
Oh man, he is like Spielberg's Jake Lloyd. I took a chance on Jake Lloyd. I
this guy's probably a lot nicer than Jake. Probably a lot nicer than Jake Lloyd, though.
I feel bad for Jake Lloyd. All right, whatever happened to Jake Lloyd and whatever attitude he has now is not his fault.
Sure. I'm just saying, literally, all the people, whether you love him or hate him, are nice on those CW shows. Like they're all pleasant and Canadian.
Canadian.
Seriously,
they're all Canadian.
I swear to God, like 80 to 85% of them are all Canadian.
That's hilarious.
Tom Cavanaugh, Canadian.
Oh,
that's what I'm saying. I think Supergirl. I'm pretty sure Melissa Benoist is Canadian.
Okay, this to me is where the movie really just shoots off like a goddamn bottle rocket. This sequence right here is genius.
Now, this is good. One nitpick through all of this, though. Is one nitpick.
Okay.
They should all be running instantly when this thing pops out of the ground.
It's a movie. It's a goddamn movie. That's happened a million times in a million movies.
Look, I'm not taking major points off. Hence the nitpick. I'm just saying that it's
You're not wrong, but again, we've seen it's not like this is the first movie to ever have that.
I'm just saying they're all going to be running anyway in like a few seconds. Why can't they just run instantly? It's just.
But I do love the realism of the destruction, how the glass just kind of instantly caves in on itself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do like the little move when Ray kind of hides behind one of the doors. It's kind of a nice move.
And this is really kind of the start of humanity breaking down, not so much them turning on each other, but just kind of like the mass panic at play here.
And of course, it's definitely
just sort of the sense of like, what the fuck is going on?
We're definitely tying into a lot of the post 9/11 of all the right. Well, here and especially when we start disintegrating people, that's the biggie.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to the practically earthquakes. And again, we're kind of slowly building it from like earthquakes, which is like a natural occurrence, to again something that's a little bit more otherworldly, and again kind of post 9/11, and then of course something completely in the sci-fi dimension.
It never really occurred to me until literally right now, but I love the symbolism that the alien comes from a church.
Yeah, it's kind of
Of
spooky,
course.
isn't it?
There's a fun meta gag with that too. With aliens, Scientology.
Yeah, right.
I would say it just occurred to me when you brought
Took
that
me
up.
a
It's like, oh my
minute.
god, yeah. Aliens and Tom Cruise are all the same place.
Here's where it just, stuff gets real.
Then again, I love the transition here. Of course, the big plumes of dust and everything. Again, now we're getting into the 9/11 of it all here.
And I love how you don't really they obscure the creatures at first. It's not a slow build to the creatures, but it is a build.
Yeah. Spielberg 101. We got to build up to these guys.
Of course.
Hey, and right here's what I'm talking about. Like, again, you'd be running. I'm going to give it a pass. I'm just saying, come on, let's face it. In real life, we don't.
I really hope somebody's called the army, because the police officers can't do.
Well, they call the army, but it just takes them a long time to get there.
So, what do you think of the design on the pods?
I like it.
I like the ships, but I kind of have a fondness for the '50s version of the aliens, though. I like the aliens here. I just think the ships, though. The ships better here.
To me, I think the ships make the aliens, though. I mean, the ships just have such a character in their own right. I really do feel like the ships are kind of the point of the alien presence.
Yeah.
Not so much the actual design of the aliens themselves.
Oh, sure. I'm just saying, like, this adds kind of more of a tripod than the other things. I'm saying, like, this, like, than the other versions of it. Like, this kind of feels like, okay, like, kind of the tripod design, kind of realized.
I'm pretty sure even in the original books, the ships were described as tripods.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like kind of more accurate kind of adaptation. It's kind of like, and the menace there of, like, you can look at you from the sky. That's the menacing thing right there. I think we do this. One of my only problem with the ships, and again, not design-wise they work, they're great, is we do this weird thing where you guys point out to me if it happens in the movie, though, but apparently these things have shields, and I get that shields for the most part are going to be invisible, but we don't really treat that like a big plot point until, like, it's convenient to us, and that's a big problem for me when we get to the third act.
Okay.
I mean, again, if you guys see, like, the shields in practice here, let me know, because I kind of missed that on both viewings of this.
Oh yeah, they're definitely there. They're visible. Like, what do you think? Like, if this actually happened, what would be going through your head right now? Say,
Run.
I'm gonna die. Like, honestly, I wouldn't even be in. Like, I'd be in. I wouldn't be in fight or flight. I'd be in fright mode. I'd just be in, like, oh shit.
This guy gets his first here.
Okay, I love the shot here, though. I love the, like, where we pan down to see the destruction through the camera viewmaster.
Oh yeah, that's absolutely. Again, that's the one shot that was in the Spielberg documentary I love most. Honestly, like, this is
Right there,
running towards camera. It's great. And again, the disintegration effect is really cool and really scary here. Like, again, only the clothes are left behind, and there's a bit of kind of some haunting Holocaust imagery here too, of, like, it's like, piles of clothes and belongings left on the ground.
Sure.
I think Spielberg is very intentionally tapping into that, and of course the human remains. Again, this is the big. Again, I keep saying this, but I really mean it here. Is that this is the whole. You're coated in dust and human remains. Very 9/11 haunting imagery. That's.
No, what do you think of what I brought up, of kind of the idea of framing post 9/11 paranoia through the paranoia that the original radio show kind of stoked in the culture?
Well, that's my favorite idea of the movie, yeah.
Like, two very different types of paranoia, but two real types of paranoia.
I absolutely agree with you. Again, that's probably my favorite thing. They kind of, in kind of adapting the story, it's kind of a way of kind of referencing what's come before, but doing it in, like, a different way. So I was jazzed about that. That's the main thing. I give you all the credit in the world for. Like, yeah, you're absolutely right. That's a really good thing the movie does.
Stop and think about it. He's covered in people right now.
I know.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah.
And of course, just that it already passed, but we had the Tom Cruise run. That's just, it's the patented Tom Cruise run. It's a signature. It's what he does. And here's like again, this is the thing I've really been kind of building up, and we've been hinting at here again. This is the haunting moment here, where again it's the like after you come 1,000-mile stare after 9/11, and you go in there and you see the human remains, and he comes to the realization when he looks in the mirror.
Yeah, and that's really the first major bit of just like, oh my God, this is like just some really, really messed up stuff that's going on in this world. This world has just instantly changed. Like, we are dealing with a completely new set of rules here.
Yeah. Spielberg, does menacing and aftermath really well, and of course, this scene is a testament to one of those two things. And importantly, with this, I mean, one of the big, things we gotta give this movie is that this is Spielberg avoiding the cliches of destroying landmarks, and again, he's focusing on the people and the chaos and the aftermath. And that's
like, this movie is. I mean, you say it's a Hollywood movie, and sure it is, but my God, is it so much better than anything that piece of shit Roland Emmerich has ever directed?
I'll give you that. I'm just saying that with the exception of those Spielberg touches, if you took those out of the movie, then it absolutely would be like a Roland Emmerich thing. That's one thing.
Okay, well, what you just said, like Roland Emmerich obviously has a fetish for destroying landmarks, and Spielberg dies away from the landmarks. So
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying yes. I'm saying that's what puts this above a Roland Emmerich movie. Yes.
Okay.
Again, this is like one of these scenes that Spielberg does really well here, where we've set up our character as a knowledge of this, and he knows like about the one working car because he tipped off his mechanic, but he tipped off Nanny.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he's walking all calmly because he knows it's going to be a race for like the one working car to get out of this place. And this is like that tense Spielberg scene that you come to the movie for, like, oh yeah, he knows how to do like this, and of course there's a huge, awesome set piece, I guess, between like end of Act 2 beginning. I don't know where. I think it's in Act 3 technically, but we'll get there. It's the real closed in, real tension filled scene.
Well, that's probably like middle of Act 2, I would say.
Yeah, I guess it's more middle to end of Act 2.
But you're absolutely right, Dragon. That scene is like by far the best scene in the movie.
I'm just saying, like, when we mine that stuff, like this scene here, but especially that scene later, that's the Spielberg I wanted to see in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, look, he's warning Manny here. He's warning him, okay, hey, listen.
Manny, if you don't get in the car, you're going to die. I don't know how much more simple I can make it.
I don't know how this guy doesn't know that people have been vaporized and panicking.
Right.
This guy, he kind of deserves
a legitimately good plot hole, Dragon.
Kind of deserves this. I gotta be. Like, look behind you.
Oh, man.
Well, I guess Manny's not upset anymore.
You know what one of the funny things about this movie is that there's a bunch of side characters that just kind of come in and it's like, oh, I wonder if they're going to be relevant to the plot. Nope.
So, real quick, we had I think the best moment of Dakota Fanning in this movie for me, one of the best moments. One of those haunting moments was, again, when she says, like, is it the terrorist? When she's hugging the seat asking, is it the terrorist? Like, that's hauntingly good.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't feel ham-fisted, It just feels
just think of how much effort went into putting this shot together.
Yeah.
My God.
Those overhead shots. I guess it's the overhead shots, because, again, that looks just like the opening that we had with the quality of the opening.
See, this shot is, it's great.
Here's what I'm talking about here. Here's where when she starts to freak out, and then we're about to have the smiley, parody of Tom Cruise coming up here.
Okay, yeah, this scene is absolutely kind of like a ridiculous Dakota Fanning performance here, where it's like, I get what they're going for. They're going for a kid legitimately having a panic attack, but it's just a little they play it a little bit too long.
Doing almost like a Hulk, like like a lullaby, like the sun's getting real low, isn't it?
I do like the idea of the safe space, though. I do like the kind of the calming effect of that. And you know what? That is the one. Okay, there's two redeeming factors with Robbie.
One is a moment that we'll get to that's like legitimately just a moment. And the other I will say is his bond with his sister. I do think that it's nice to see an older brother not be a bully to a younger sister. It's nice to see him legitimately like looking out for and going out of his way to protect his younger sister. That's one of the few things I'll give the Robbie character.
I have two things to give him too. One, I do like here's I think we're about to get parody of Tom Cruise. Like, anyway, I'm sorry, Robbie. So again, Robbie, there's definitely a Spielberg parallel because the fact he's wearing that baseball hat and then he has like the long hair like young Spielberg.
Well, it's obviously supposed to be like Tom Cruise is Spielberg's dad. Like that's obviously what's going on here. It's
just like, oh my God. Anyway, so the other thing, though, seriously, the real thing to give Robbie though is I think we were talking about the same scene. He has this one really great redeeming scene later on, like
with the ferry.
Yes, the ferry. That's like the one time I liked her. Like, I like this kid for a moment, and there's another
for a moment.
But then there are like two other scenes where I'm like, oh my God, someone shoot this kid, please.
Oh, I hear you.
Like right here, this whole and he's just like, okay, like don't scream. He's doing all the Tom Cruise motions from like all those interviews, Like, this is what I'm talking about. The whole I'm kind of driving right now. He's hyper energized. That's a thing. And again, I know he's more. He worked so well in Minority Report. I'm wondering what happened. The thing, like I'm just not in love with Tom Cruise's performance in this movie. It's not really like
really it comes down to the writing. I just feel like Ray Ferrier is a far less interesting character than John Anderson.
Seriously, David Koepp, you couldn't have come up with a better name than Ray Ferrier. Really? I'll bet you what happened. Dave Koepp said, "Hey, look, we got to have some symbols."
Okay, well, I like the naming patterns for Ray and his kids. It's like it's all the R names. It's like we got the Ray, Rachel, Robbie.
Yeah, sure, that's kind of cute, yes. But I'm just saying, imagine Dave Koepp's name. Okay, we need some thematicism here, but we have overpopulation, check. We have the post 9/11ism, check. What else we need? Okay, let's it's a race to get to the ferry, so let's come up with last name here. Ferrier. Yeah. It's like, seriously, David, you wrote Jurassic Park. Seriously?
Well,
you wrote all the helicopter stuff.
He also wrote Jurassic World.
He did?
Did he not?
You said Jurassic World. Are you thinking of Lost World, or are you thinking of Jurassic?
Yeah, I am thinking of Lost World. I'm sorry.
And this is okay. So without, see what Spielberg's going for. He's going for like what he had in the ball scene, where you have the father who's making an attempt and he's just not getting along with the kids. And he's like, hey, you kind of busted my chops here. And then of course things get a little dark. And in this case, it's like it's a pale comparison to that scene, which just was passable. This one's just really like, all right, so he's desperately making peanut butter sandwiches. And how does he not know his own daughter's allergic to peanut butter?
I mean, I honestly struck that up to being a shitty parent.
I mean, still though, they established that he was there, at least when the kid was born, and they probably been informed like a medical thing, like you should know these things, these basic things. I'll give you an example. It's not like the game plan. There's a big peanut allergy subplot in that movie because he had never seen the kid, and that made sense. Here, he's been there for the birth of these two kids at least. It's that Tom Cruise groove. Like, since when?
I would have married Katie Holmes.
Of course, like just the fact that Katie Holmes played a character named
Did
Rachel
he just really tell her?
Yes. Oh my god. How did I not realize that? Holy shit. Holy shit. I'm sorry, Zane. That's too good, Dragon. That's too Freudian. Sandy, go ahead. I'm terrible.
No. Did he really just tell her to eat just the plain bread?
I just think he gave her the bread, like, okay, for later then. That's what I thought. That's how I read it, at least.
Which, again, Dragon, I mean, I will not fight you on this at all. It is totally like crazy couch jumping Tom Cruise.
He just threw like the bread at the window, man. Honestly, it just reads as, again, it's the writing or the fact that Tom Cruise is playing a parody of himself. It's one of those two that he's just legitimately ticked off with these kids, just annoyed by these kids. Like, I'm stuck with these kids. I'm gonna make it the best experience ever. It's like Betsy Kettleman almost. It's like, yeah, we're a happy family, aren't we?
Oh my god.
I will say, this is a really nice looking basement. I love this basement, man. It's all nice and spacious, and
Yeah.
skin.
Now I've got a lot to say about the next set piece coming up because I've actually seen it in person.
The airplane.
Yes.
Oh, it's at Universal, isn't it?
Yes, it's at Universal. Yes.
I thought you walked like a down plane somewhere.
Well, to be fair, it is literally a downed plane.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally like they bought a whole plane and destroyed it.
Of course, this is some neat visual setup for later on. We see, the other basements. We're getting like a real swanky basement again in Act 1 to, later on we're getting like the whole dilapidated, scary maze-like basement, like the little windows. Instead of branches, it'll be like kind of terraformed, kind of vines grown.
Right.
And again, I'm loving all this lightning stuff. So again, I like. Honestly, I think 25% movie like absolutely works for me. And then we get into like conjecture with the rest of it. That's the thing. I think 25% like very solid. Like, okay, there's a solid steel stuff we got here. Yeah, I say conjecture. I don't want to just like throw all of it.
I would go as far as to say 50-50 of it works and doesn't work, but I think there's too much good stuff in the movie to just say 25%.
I just say 25 is bulletproof. Then there's like probably like another 25 that again mixed together makes like it's kind of 50-50. I don't know. It's like I'll admit there's a lot of subjectivity. Let's make that clear too. There's taste in here. I think there's definitely an audience for this. I just don't know if it's necessarily me.
Okay, that's fair.
And again, this is panic done right here. Like again, like the world's coming down around you. And again, I gotta tell you, from the beginning of the movie, I was thinking, not that they were going to get killed off, but I mean, this is such a hopeless situation. These guys, like you imagine in real life, you'd say, okay, we're dead. There's no way we're going to stop this.
Right.
And I got to tell you, again, in places, especially, I'm thinking to myself, okay, it's a buy that one, this construction worker is this lucky that he's not because he's a construction worker.
They did establish that he's really damn good at his job. They did establish that. They had that little banter like, hey, Ray, I need you to come in 4 hours. No, 12 hours. But you're the best guy I got, Ray.
Yeah, right. The best guy at what? In a crisis. What I'm saying, doesn't like do any construction related saves or anything. He doesn't really.
He did do a construction related save.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just wondering,
if he somehow climbed inside the tripod and started operating it or something like that.
I mean, that's the thing, because we're kind of getting to my point coming up here, where again I think we introduced these news news anchors, or like at least they're like a news van. I don't know if they're anchors and they're just like the damage control people that I don't mean damage control. I mean like they have government information. So I don't know if that means they're really good at reporting or what. But again, I really love to follow them, and that would have been a great tie to the announcer and like the news interruptions within the War of the Worlds broadcast, and would be kind of like a little reinvention. That would have been kind of nice. And again, I think that would just been more natural. And like, okay, I could buy if these guys figure out the alien's weakness or something. Like intrepid reporters in the thick of it, and we could maybe do some I'm not saying we do a found footage thing. We could play with some more of that camera stuff. We got like a little tease out in the movie. Like the camera was on the ground. We saw everyone running towards it. I don't know.
So, Tiki, tell us if you recognize anything here.
Oh, I recognize everything.
What about that fire in the corner there? You recognize that?
Well, okay, it's. To be fair, I'm pretty sure there are some pyrotechnic effects. Like, I'm pretty sure the wheels are still on fire.
This is all like verbatim.
Yeah, verbatim. They left it completely intact.
Or unintact.
Now that plane is definitely the most impressive set piece because it's literally they bought a full-size 747 and just completely destroyed it.
That is cool, and again, haunting kind of 9/11 imagery there.
Of course.
And Spielberg said that he liked it better that there's nobody in the plane, just not one person.
I agree. That's actually a really, really smart decision.
Yep.
Also, kind of ironically enough, time back into Lost.
Yeah, exactly.
You get kind of like a haunting answer to where those people might have gone, though, because we do see people in the river later on, which implies that, I don't know, maybe like while the plane's spinning in out of control, maybe like they all got flung to different places, you know?
Uh-huh.
Again, without the answer, it's fine. Just, you know, it's good they don't kind of tell us it's even creepier that way. Thinking like, I'm not saying maybe not these two characters necessarily, but like, you know, like newsmen, reporters, you know.
I see what you're saying, Dragon. I definitely see what you're saying, and that is maybe a missed opportunity, but it would have radically changed the whole foundation of the movie. And
yeah,
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the whole foundation of the movie is the Spielberg daddy issue stuff, which, yeah, it's hit or miss, but at least it's Spielbergian in its own right.
Yeah, what we mainly do with what we do with them here is they're just kind of an exposition dump. They're like giving us a little bit of context where. Honestly,
let's face it. I mean, every single side character in this movie, besides maybe Tim Robbins, is either an exposition dump or something made to like prove, like, hey, look at how shocking humanity is.
Yep. Honestly, we need to give Ray some information here, but I wonder if maybe if we didn't even need this information, though. It's like, isn't it more kind of interesting? We don't even know what's going on with these guys. Like, I think we can fill in the blanks. Okay, lightning started these things up again.
You know what it reminds me of, Dragon? It reminds me of. Do you remember when we did the Walking Dead parody and they mentioned the CDC?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the CDC, as I told you, was the government facility that they visited at the end of season 1. It reminds me of that, and that did not go over well with fans either, because that was basically, again, it was just kind of like, we don't really need the exposition. We can kind of get that the world's going to shit. We don't really need the whole, like, you know, the minutia of how it's all going down.
We do need exposition for the prison.
Yes, we do need exposition for the prison. Yes, you're absolutely right. Oh my god.
You know,
the thing that you thought was literally slang.
Yeah, no, it's like, you know, we call it the prison, man.
Prison in The Walking Dead.
She doesn't offer to save his life. She just wants a good story. Wow.
Okay, I will admit that moment is kind of like, that's an on the nose, like, yeah, that's not really humanity going to shit. That's just kind of someone being an asshole.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. This is one of my favorite Dakota Fanning moments right here. Is the whole "I'm not going to look." I feel like it's a very real world kind of parenting situation here. Like, you know, as if you see a car accident down the road and you're like, "Don't look, honey." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a great little thing. Of course, later on, he tries to shield his key. He's trying to protect her innocence, and that's good. The stuff with Robbie that was stupid. Like, what do you expect to do, kid? Come on.
Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to defend Robbie here. I'm going to fucking defend Robbie. If you were in this situation and you saw this, would you not want to take a minute?
I want to take him.
Want to take a minute?
No. Here's the thing. He's not taking a minute, Tiki. What they're setting up is this kid. He wants to fight against them.
We'll get into that.
I'm saying that's what they're setting up here.
You do not think I have a problem with that, Dragon? Trust me. We'll get into that.
I'm saying this scene. They didn't shoot it like he was taking in the shock. They shot it like he's like, yeah, I'm angry about this. I want to do something. That's what they're setting up with this scene, man. Which is stupid.
Oh, man. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The whole subplot of Robbie just being like, we can fight them. Like, at least Tom Cruise calls him out on it. At least he's like, do you have a suggestion that doesn't involve your 10-year-old sister joining the army?
That is a good line. I will give the movie that.
And I like how Tom Cruise, like, really hits at that point. It's like, huh, motherfucker? How about a plan like that? Huh? How about a plan like that? You got a plan like that?
I think we're kind of. Look, I'm not going to like pulling every thread here. It just seems like it's again kind of a visual thing. Like we know if I don't know, he has to explain to the kids that hey, if we leave the car, people are going to try to steal. We see that excellently later on. I think we kind of goes without saying, but I don't know. You got to explain to the little one at least. So I'll give him a pass on that.
Uh-huh.
Oh, right. This is a fun joke here. Too bad. I'm making a list. That's
gonna be one effective list, right?
Yeah. And again, this whole this real trippy image, and initially I had a problem.
I forgot about this.
Initially, I had a problem with this, but on a rewatch, like, oh yeah, it makes all the sense to me. It's just there are gonna be other bodies that aren't,
Even if it's not from the plane crash, I mean,
do they have this universal
ton of bodies in this scenario?
That's what I'm saying. Like, you get people dying from other causes, like buildings falling and down, all this other stuff. It's going to be, there are going to be other bodies. Sorry, folks. It's kind of weird and haunting right now.
It really is.
And again, like the idea is trying to shield her and kind of protect her innocence. Again, that's the one thing that's selling me on the family thing they're trying to do here. Like that's not bad.
And here we go.
So
it kind of comes out of nowhere too.
So I think what Spielberg's going for, especially later on when we do the battle scene, is he made a choice to, if I'm right. Again, it's been a while, folks. So I really don't remember all this. But in the 50s movie, we were with the military a little bit more. We saw the military in the heat of battle, and we were kind of following that more. In this movie, Spielberg made the choice of, let's not do that again. We'll have the military, but the focus is on, again, Ray and the whole family side of things there. And, I mean, it's a choice, and I get what he's going for. I personally don't agree with it, but, it's going to...
Okay, no, to be fair, I do think I'd rather have the family stuff than the military stuff. Like, I'd rather have the news reporter stuff than the family stuff. But I feel like if we just did another military story, it really would feel like a Roland Emmerich movie at that point.
Let me explain. I mean, I don't mean we need like this. Follow military guys as our main guys, but we obscure all the action. Really, it's okay. Like we're on their side of things, and we don't show them actually fighting against the aliens, and that's kind of it's.
You know what? From a stylistic point of view, I kind of like that. You know why? Because I like that. I like that in this movie, it's very much kind of this haunting sort of idea where you're just kind of powerless in the situation. These creatures, these ships are so larger than life that there's really nothing you can do. And for that reason, I feel like it works. I feel like basically it does what Godzilla 2014 was trying to do, which was kind of like, hey, let's kind of show the action from the ground level. And I think it works better for the tripods than it does for a creature that you're clearly supposed to see all of it.
Tell you what, I'll give you that, but there's still one little issue I have later on with the military. One little issue, but I'll give you that. You make some points there. I'll give you that.
Okay.
Oh, this is a great scene, though, this one right here.
This is not just the best scene in the movie, but I would wager to say one of Spielberg's finest moments.
Well, again, you haven't seen the other thing we're going to be talking about. That then you'll... I get you. I get you going for there. Yeah, trust me, it's going to be done even better. But yeah, of course, now we've set up the whole, again, the car is a very valuable commodity, especially, out here. And of course, we have, let me tease this thing, because you've been teasing this for a couple of the movies now.
Uh-huh.
The whole, the danger of crowds and paranoia and, panic in the street. I believe you were building to this scene, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just say, people walking around, again, just kind of like that aimless, like you're walking for salvation, and you're just kind of going from one place to another, and there's just kind of that hopelessness in the air. Let's just say that's definitely something we're going to be building to by the end of Spielberg month.
I'm really going to just I'm sure it's a masterpiece, but I'm going to have a tough time with that movie.
Oh, but it's so good.
But I'm going to have a tough time with it.
Well, at least there's no Robbie in it.
I'd almost prefer there to be a Robbie in it, because at least that'd be some sort of like goofy comedic levity.
Anyway, so this scene here, of course, this is just like a worse nightmare while you're on the road here. Just like it's like you drive into a bad neighborhood. In this case, every neighborhood is the bad neighborhood. You have to get from point A to point B. And honestly, the scariest bit for me here is like when he's just driving, he's full speed ahead, and initially you're thinking like, yeah, I mean these guys are acting crazy. So if you hit a few guys that are in your way, that's one thing, but then there's like the woman and child, and you realize, oh my god, no, these are people. It's like, oh my. Now, initially, I thought like would have been like the dark irony here is that these people, for their kind of their ruthlessness and again out of panic and paranoia, they don't want to die.
Okay, this guy really gets to me where he's clawing through the glass and he's literally cutting his hands to get into the glass.
That is very frightening. And again, well, the real dark punchline to all this is the fact you go through all this. Initially, I thought they were just going there from the outset, but it gets even darker. Where I think, okay, they smash the car, and then it'd be like, oh, look what we've done. We've destroyed our own means of salvation. In this case, they do all this, and in the end, the guy who took the car, he gets shot.
Mm-hmm.
And at the point, it's like it's an endless cycle type payoff. Like, oh my gosh, look at this. Any promise of salvation brings out the worst in us. It's a very poignant moment here. The fact that just like these people don't even care about the girl. Initially, right. Like, look at this is here. If you're this kid and all these guys are climbing in the car like it's a clown car of salvation. It's the clown car of salvation.
Oh man. Well, I do like how we directly reference like, hey, come on, you could fit at least 20 people in there. Okay, what I like about this moment where Cruz pulls out the gun is that the crowd instantly does kind of civilize itself again. They're like, hey, come on, man, you don't need that. Come on, cool it. You know what I mean?
Now, this is important setup for the thing with Tim Robbins later, where we established that, there is a line. He doesn't want to shoot anybody. He doesn't want to kill anybody. He's not willing to go there. This guy, and especially like later on, people are willing to kill one another. These people are willing to kill one another. Ray's not quite there yet. But when it comes down
I like how this guy, again, he's stealing the car, but he is compassionate about the daughter. He's like, yeah, go ahead, man. I'm not going to freaking take your kid.
He doesn't get away. I mean...
Oh, sure.
How does he think he's going to get away?
Well, again, he has the gun, so if anyone comes up to him, he'll shoot him. But, it's not a well-thought-out plan. That's the point. It's panic and paranoia. These guys aren't thinking logically. It's like, hey, I have the gun and the car.
Right.
And of course, Ray's gun has been used in the murder of this man, so Ray might have some charges after this. And again, this to me, again, I think if they kind of nailed in the writing, if they nailed down the family dynamic, this scene could have really worked even better here. Where he's in the diner. I love this act. It was like good acting for Tom Cruise here. Where it's just
this is probably Cruise's best performance in the whole movie, if I'm being honest. This whole breakdown.
It's this, and again, this is like I think if Spielberg was doing the daddy issues, this is where he exceeds. Where it's the failed father in the diner of like I tried to protect my kids and I did and I failed and I feel bad about it. Like this is all really well communicated here. And again, I just wish everything else supported this moment. Like that's I think this thing could have elevated it even more. And again, this is what I'm talking about here, like the hopeless walking of like
I like the idea of like the giant wall of missing people. That's like a very quick visual detail that I'm sure they spent countless man hours putting together.
Yeah. Imagine the Easter eggs in there though, like the for lack of a better term, in jokes.
Okay, so this of course leads us into the fairy set piece, and we're about to meet a character that is kind of like my primary example of someone who comes into the movie and you think they're going to be important, but it's like nope. Okay, this train is goddamn haunting.
Yeah.
It's haunting, but come on, doesn't it feel a little bit like spectacle? Like we need something just to hammer it in there, We just need a train on fire, And look, I love the spark effect on it, though. I just feel like train on fire is like okay, we're kind of pushing it a little.
No, it's the mundaneness of that little fence going down, and that huge just ghost train just flying by.
And then the little gate going up again.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. That's what makes the image for me.
It is really like the haunted train from Hey Arnold.
It kind of is, yeah.
There was like a friendly singing ghost on the. Oh my god! Here's one of my favorite bits in the movie, though. Okay, I love setting this to Tony Bennett. It's really effective. It was a really good choice, and of course the again, I'm trying to think what the song was. Oh yeah, it was if I ruled the world, which is a perfect choice. And again, like the whole like in an invasion movie, this felt like one of the most Spielbergian choices in the movie here. Like again, it's kind of breeding that kind of the New Yorker, that that New York post 9/11 mentality, and doing it in a natural way that's just it's kind of eerie and haunting. All these people like and going for what they think is going to save them. Like, hey, we're off land. These things can only travel on land, right?
Okay, so Cheryl, the most important character in the movie, not.
I mean, the movie falls on its own sword without Cheryl. Cheryl's the tipping point. Cheryl is, she's the Kim Wexler of this movie.
Oh God! Oh man, that's going too far, Dragon.
I mean, it doesn't work without Cheryl. I really hope. I hope we get a spin-off movie with Cheryl.
Just seeing those trees in the distance just get torn down, it's coming.
Okay, there's two things that reminds me of. One, Jurassic Park, and two, honestly, Lost. Specifically, a moment in the pilot episode.
I gotta tell you, with all these heads turned, there's a vague Dunkirk to it. There's a vague.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned Dunkirk, Dragon, because to me, this is the closest that we have to a sci-fi Dunkirk.
Well, this shot here, most likely, if we just take one shot, it's this whole evacuation moment. It feels very kind of like the mole from Dunkirk.
Sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if Nolan maybe took a few cues from this scene. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm just saying, like, throughout the whole movie, it kind of has like I said, obviously it doesn't have the whole kaleidoscope of storytelling that a Nolan movie does, but it does have kind of the gritty realism that a Nolan movie does.
Okay, I will say this. Now, this is somewhat of a nitpick, but on a rewatch, I think it's a little better. All these cars they still have on the ferry now, but the presumption is these cars are still functioning. That's the presumption, which I think on the rewatch makes it a little better. But still, even with that, if they get rid of more of these cars, they're going to have room for more people. So biologically, they should get rid of the cars, if not at least most of them.
I mean, then again, if they are functioning cars, that is a very valuable commodity, and they can always just pile the people into the cars if they need to.
And the only reason I think they're functioning is I think like the lights come on when they fall off. If they don't, then that means like it really does not make any sense because again, EMP probably would have wiped them out. But again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I think they work. If Cheryl
seriously,
held on.
What's up with Cheryl? Like, why does she exist in this movie?
Well, she has to hold on to Tom Cruise, Tiki.
God.
Apparently, that's basically we have to have some loss there of like, hey, there's Cheryl, that neighbor that we didn't establish in the first act for some reason.
Right.
I guess she met the Channing Tatum.
Was it a neighbor? Was it supposed? I got the sense that was supposed to be like an old girlfriend of Tom Cruise's.
Well, that's like a neighbor. I'm saying both. It's like a girlfriend / neighbor. But, I mean, yeah. Honestly, I don't know why they didn't make it that mother and child from the opening though, because we just have a different mother and child here. Because you remember that one who was like literally the neighbor we saw in the first act.
Right.
Okay, now here we go, folks. Like the one good Robbie moment is coming up.
The one good one, folks. Soak it in, take it in.
Like, Robbie's like he's a wannabe Captain America, but like he has this one moment of like, yeah, Rogers would give him that one. It's like it's no Chitauri, but he'd give him this one. Yeah, initially I was thinking when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, oh, what's this kid gonna do now? He's looking.
Oh yeah, I was totally thinking the same thing.
But he actually does something really cool here. It's like, yeah, these guys are dangling. No one's helping them. I'm going to help them, man. You get that one time the Tom Cruise smiles like, yeah, there's a genuine Tom Cruise smile. There's a Mission Impossible Tom Cruise. I want a Tom Cruise that's trying, darn it. I think I've told you this before. Dakota Fanning, she voiced Lilo once, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I knew that.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch 2.
Yeah, Lilo and Stitch 2, right.
I recommend.
You know, I actually still haven't seen. I've seen Lilo and Stitch the series. I've just never seen any of the actual sequels.
There's only like one sequel, and the movie has like.
Well, then Leroy and Stitch.
Well, that's the finale to the TV series. That's like that's a TV movie finale. So here we go. This is not a good omen for these guys.
They're screwed.
And I do like how the movie, like, in spite of showing the aliens from the ground level, we do a lot of different things with the aliens. Like, we have an alien coming out of the ground. We have an alien coming out of the water. You know what I mean? It's like there's a lot of different, like, creative uses for the alien technology here.
I like this trippy, like the snow effect that happens here. Like it's, I don't think Here's the thing, I don't think it's actually snow. I think it's like water sprinkling, or like the engine of the tripod doing something trippy.
Something like that, yeah.
I think it's almost like it's like the water. It's coming from the tripod. Like there's like a ice cold. Well, I mean, the terraforming thing might turn.
Because remember when he found that cold rock when it first from the storm? Remember?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's. I think that has to be why. I think that's. Yeah, I think you're right. And of course, those cars were very, again, for reasons like this, they couldn't have perceived this, but I get it. But this is like the cars were a bad idea. I mean, come on. To the side, these guys are goners.
Where's the Incredicar when you need it?
Oh, God.
Can you imagine?
Okay, I love the foreshadow here to the third act where we see the people getting picked up. That's going to pay off.
We've got some alien abductions there, too. And of course, I like the sci-fi. I like the pseudoscience behind why these guys are being taken.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Cruz. Just keep swimming.
God.
Look how defeated. Like, it looks almost black and white, the cinematography.
You're right.
Pretty neat. Like a defeated atmosphere. Like, oh my God, they're so hopeless.
See, Dragon, there's a lot to like in this movie. Come on now.
Well, there's a lot to like, but there's also a lot to not like.
Yeah, and we can say the same thing about Hook.
I'll give you that. Even Spielberg doesn't love Hook.
Okay, seriously, I love this shot.
Yeah.
Oh, Robbie's pissed off.
Oh, it means
the infamous scene right here.
I think it's definitely coming up. I'm blanking on this black and white moment here. That's the one thing that's kind of throwing me off here.
Okay, I will say my dad and I talked about this scene endlessly. Like, we nitpicked the crap out of this scene. Like, this is one of our big in-jokes with each other.
Why?
Oh, I don't know. Not necessarily this moment. This moment is actually, with the clothes, it's actually super creepy. I'm talking about the Robbie, like, just going head first into the battle stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, why does he leave the girl? That's the main question.
Yeah, because they already established, like, okay, yeah, he wants to leave, but he can't because he's looking over the sister, and it's like that just kind of gets thrown by the wayside rather quickly.
Yeah, what timestamp do you have, Tiki?
Let me see. I have timestamp 1:06:37.
Tell me when you're at 108, would you?
Sorry, what?
Tell me when you're at 108, would you?
I'm not going to be at 108 for another minute and 10 seconds.
That's fine. Just tell me.
Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. Here we go, motherfucker. It's just like, look at him. He's just like, oh my God. This whole thing is just... Dragon, any complaint you have with the movie, yeah, right here, I will totally validate it. This is the dumbest shit. It's like, look at him. He's just like my whole thing is, what the hell does he expect to do? Like, that's really what bothers. Like,
like maybe if he had found like a gun or something, or a tank or something like that, you know what I mean? Maybe if he had stumbled upon something that might have actually given him a fighting chance, maybe. Okay, Dragon's coming up right about 108.
All right, yeah. So it's just this kid. It's like again, he thinks he's Captain America and going run to the field like this, like he's going to make any sort of difference. He's just it's treated like it's an epic sacrifice. And I mean, look, I'll give you. Yeah, I respect the choice of the military thing. I don't know. It's just kind of.
Oh, I don't.
Well, no, not with him. I just mean the fact that you were not showing them kind of fighting the aliens.
Oh, yeah, right. I'm sorry.
I think it's honestly maybe it's them doing a good job of like just them going up against things so hopeless and there's no spectacle. I guess that's why. The problem though is that we don't establish these shields though is apparently really important. Though. I mean, it's like we don't say they have like some sort of shielding. So like one line might have helped that a lot more. I don't know. He's spending way too much time.
Why would he leave a daughter alone? Why?
I know. He can see it.
You know what? Though? You know what? I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, this is one of the most haunting scenes in the movie, though, where it's like this whole moral dilemma right here.
Which kid do you hate more?
Pretty much. I would be like, just leave Robbie. Just leave Robbie right now. Just fuck him.
He stole your car. It's fine. That's like just shout over to him, hey, it's my kid. Or like motion over to him. Hey,
the horrifying idea that these people legitimately want to help Rachel, but it's at a terrible cost. It's at a terrible cost.
All right, he's made his choice. Turn around, run, go on.
I know. And here we go. He literally just like runs right into the.
It's like we just established the soldiers don't want him there. No one wants him there, yet he's trying to join the march to someone's fife. That's like does not make one iota of sense.
Yeah, here we go. Like just giant fireball. I want to emphasize this. I want you guys to pay attention to this. Robbie has just run in to a giant fireball.
And apparently,
a giant fireball.
Yes.
All right.
He's running to.
We'll come back to that later. Folks.
He's
just
running to a fire.
Shields.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, we're seeing some shields there.
Yeah.
I'll give you this. I think we got to establish it a little earlier, though. I don't know. But okay, at least we saw him. I'll give it that one. I didn't catch that before. Okay, we'll see if my issues.
The classic aliens in the farmhouse kind of.
And this, to me, is some of the strongest stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
I think the one flaw with this section of the movie is that it almost kind of feels a little bit disconnected from the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like a short film in its own right. Mm-hmm. But goddamn, it's all really well done.
I think we have to agree to disagree on this. I mean, I see what you're saying. I just, personally, I thought it was kind of a waste of Tim Robbins. I wasn't crazy about this stuff.
A waste of Tim Robbins.
I think it was kind of a waste of Tim Robbins. I mean, the guy who's in Shawshank Redemption. I think we kind of wasted.
Tim Robbins is an American treasure.
That's what I'm saying. I think he took an American treasure. We just kind of like threw him in here. It was like, here, Tim Robbins. Why not?
Okay, what I think Tim Robbins represents is Tim Robbins generally represents most people in the movie are representing kind of a 9/11 paranoia. Tim Robbins is representing kind of like the classic like paranoia that got developed in the actual radio show, like the whole like these people are invading kind of paranoia.
You might be right with that, Tiki, and I kind of see where that's coming from. I think it's a little late in the game to do all this.
All right.
No. Then again, I'm trying to think where they would have put that. I don't know. The idea is not bad now I think about it. It's just
I mean, let's face it. At the end of the day, Tim Robbins is the only side character with any substance behind him. You at least got to give him that much.
He's kind of out of nowhere, though. It's just like, hey, come into my barn, and I'm an important character now. It's just like, I'm saying he's kind of out of. That's my problem. It's just he's really kind of out of left field. And I mean, it's like, okay, now this guy is important. He's getting like these knockoff Quint speeches from Jaws. It's like, yeah, he's. I don't know.
Perhaps it would have worked better. Again, we're kind of workshopping this movie as we go along, which is fine. Perhaps it would have worked better if this guy would have been established as someone from Cruise's past.
Sure.
Like I don't know, like an old school friend who went off the wagon or something like that.
He just seems like a random nut who he's completely off the reservation. I mean, he's a cautionary tale. I get that, but it's just like I don't understand why I'm really. And the guy is certifiable, and he's going to get you killed. I mean, I'm kind of getting it, but I'm not getting like the hauntingness of what I think they're trying to go for.
To me, there's a few things in this section that I really like. I like the closed-in nature of it. I do. There is one set piece that I really dig, which is the set piece with the tentacle arm that comes down. I think that's classic Spielberg right there. Like
that's what I'm telling you. That for me is the best part of the movie. Yeah,
that to me is like the equivalent to the spider scene from Minority Report.
Sure, I'd agree with you full-heartedly on that. It's really
Pete Schnapps.
Honestly, it's the instant familiarity. It's just kind of creepy, and I guess it's intentionally creepy, but it's just like, I mean, it's just like, come on, Ray, you and I were gonna fight. I was like,
and that's what I'm saying. I think this character would have worked better if he and Ray had some sort of history with each other. That's the only nitpick I have with it.
Honestly, if Manny got in the car with him, then we could have seen him get progressively more crazy.
That's true. That's a good point. Oh my God, Manny could have totally been Tim Robbins. Oh my God, I never even thought about that.
Look, I want to be clear. I love Tim Robbins. Just in this movie, I always feel like again he's nowhere near like Shawshank Tim Robbins. Just feel like, hey,
of course he's not anywhere near Shawshank Tim Robbins. What I'm saying obviously.
is, if anyone's gonna get like something close to that, it would be Spielberg, and we just kind of like dropped him in like towards the end of the movie.
But I feel like this is kind of an important bridge between the second act and the third act. To me, it's all that's it. That's the thing. It's like I feel like the end of Act 2 is Robbie running into the goddamn fireball. And you know where I'm going with that.
I agree with you. It's ridiculous. Yeah, you just run into a fireball.
But you know what I mean? It's like this to me is almost, I actually have a perfect comparison for this. This section is like the Tales of the Black Freighter of this movie.
Huh.
It's like a side story that doesn't necessarily need to be there, but it informs the characters.
I get
and I'm not saying it's as good as Tales from the Black Freighter.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. I see what you're saying. I agree with it, with the exemption maybe of like I'm trying to think how would it really. I guess it's developing the characters a little bit. Okay, I'll give you that Black Freighter, sure. I can honestly, it's just it kind of feels like, and again, I don't mean this in a really insulting way. Just the best comparison I can muster here just feels like kind of a knockoff of the Indianapolis speech. This guy kind of devolves into.
Like basically just taking like the Indianapolis speech and not making a character around it.
Yeah, it's kind of what he feels like until the whole like the whole like he has to make a choice like do I kill this guy or not. It's really like it's kind of those two things minus the really awesome sequence in the middle. Of course, we're going to get to very momentarily the spider scene.
This guy does not compare to Robert Shaw though.
That's what I'm saying. Of course, but I'm just saying it feels like again this is one of the things that contributes.
I mean, I would say Tim Robbins as an actor compares to Robin Shaw, but clearly the characters don't compare.
Robert Shaw, Tiki.
Yeah, but it's Tim Robbins, Sandy. Tim Robbins is an American treasure.
So I guess the combination would be Robin Shaw. That's what you said. So I guess you kind of fused them together to make it super actor. So Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just kind of contributes to, I guess, maybe my analogy is that it's sort of, again, it's kind of Spielberg going Hollywood, going blockbuster on. It's kind of Spielberg's attempt at an Emmerich thing, where it feels like maybe it's like kind of almost Spielberg's kind of like the one, it's like kind of vanity on Spielberg. So like, yeah, look at me, big director, look what I did a movie. Like Roland Emmerich does a disaster movie. Me, I did a Spielberg disaster movie. You know what? I also did frickin' Jaws. I don't even need to write this guy. I'm just gonna do like an Indianapolis-esque scene with this guy. You know why? Because I'm Spielberg, darn it.
I mean, you're not wrong.
You know what I'm saying? It feels like the only time. Honestly, this movie feels like the only time Spielberg got cocky, and that's the thing that's so off-putting to me about it. It's just like, it doesn't feel as earnest and just like, that's a bootstraps filmmaker if I've ever seen. And here's the payoff of the basement imagery. So this is kind of neat.
Oh yeah.
Of course, here we go, folks. Here's the money scene. Here's like, okay, one of the really great sequences in the whole. Honestly, the best sequence of the whole movie.
I still think that scene with the car is probably the best.
That's great. Look, that's great. And that's in like it's between those two. I'd side on this one though, but I see. Yeah, it's those two are the money scenes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A good shot too of Cruz, by the way, like him putting his hands on his head like that. This guy's crazy. He's like my idiot son. He wants to fight these guys. I'm gonna die.
Am I the only one who doesn't want to run into a fireball?
It's technically a fire wall, Tiki.
Okay, fair enough. Which makes it any better? How?
Well, it's a wall. It's more secure.
So the red vines, obviously a part of the original story. Really cool to see them worked in here.
Sorry, it's when you said red vines.
What, the licorice?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if instead of the actual red vines, it was just like fields and fields full of licorice?
Yep. Just imagining if it's like
giant, oversized licorice.
Imagine if you had like a ridiculous parody where Willy Wonka actually was controlling all this stuff and he's just making the lands into red licorice. Guys, I was just trying to give you a little free candy. I don't even get free candy and like ice cream. Like I turned the streets into ice cream, but no one bought into it. It's like,
oh my god, that is the best headcanon for anything ever. Like Willy Wonka somehow invented all the tripods and everything.
Or like, now Charlie runs the place, Willy Wonka died, and kind of like the old Walt Disney gag, we have like his brain is in the robot.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Like his brain's like the computer programming for like all these tripods, like spreading candy and ice cream and like kind of all the chocolatiering around. Charlie just got his food. I locked in the programming, man. I couldn't override it. Game over.
Apparently, Ryan Gosling is being eyeballed to play Willy Wonka.
No, that sounds like a mistake.
I disagree.
I mean, he's good. It's just like the whole idea is what I mean. Like, do we really need to redo it?
I mean, no, but I think Gosling is. It's not my first choice, but I think he could do it. I think he could do it.
I'll give you that. He has the chops to do it. I could.
Unless they want to use makeup to make him look older.
Anyway,
he's too young right now.
We're talking Spielberg magic here. Yeah, this is great, and this is a way of really using the basically using kind of a probe here, and this is really I love like kind of the mirror eye of it all there, where you see the reflection within the eye, and it's kind of like detecting any movement. So it's very I love the labyrinthian quality of this set and this. It feels almost like use a Pixar comparison here. It feels like the scene in Toy Story where Buzz and Woody are hiding from Scud when he goes up the stairs. Woody wakes him up and Buzz ducks into the room and it's like, oh my god, his nose is sticking right through the door. It's like one of those scenes.
Oh.
This is all excellently staged and really.
I can't even really comment on it all that much because it's just kind of Spielberg at the top of his game. It's like, what more do you need to say?
It's definitely, again, Tiki hit it right on the money. It's the most Minority Report-esque scene. Again, this to me is like the benefit of like 2000s era Spielberg is like the best of what 2000s era Spielberg did.
Now, sure, because like I said, it's a mix of like blockbuster spectacle with like really harsh, heavy-hitting paranoia.
We have like a dueling Spielberg's debate of some kind, just like which era of Spielberg was the best.
Okay, well, I mean, clearly the 80s. I mean, come on, that's not fair.
Well, you get like the minor era with the 70s, which could supplant the 80s if you want to be technical.
Well, although, yeah, you're right. I mean, let's see. Like, I forget exactly. I forget exactly how it breaks down. Like the 70s, of course, you have Jaws. Close Encounters, is that 70s?
I think Close.
It's 70s. Yeah.
Okay, but then the 80s, you have E.T., the Indiana Jones trilogy.
You might have. I don't know if Duel's in the late 70s, early 80s. Though. I don't know. Duel might be 1980, but it could be 79. I'm not sure.
Wait, Duel?
Yeah, Duel.
Duel was in the 70s, I think.
Or
60s, even. I don't know.
Well, it's not the 60s. It's got to be.
Well, late 60s, maybe. Because Jaws was 75 or 74.
Yeah, Jaws was 75.
Yeah. And Sugarland Express was after Duel.
Yeah. Oh, well, you sure it was after Duel?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, regardless, again, that's still a pretty good lineup for the 70s. Anyway, so again, this is all this mirror thing that I thought was brilliant. Like using the reflection to kind of trip up the thing. Of course, then you have the boot thing, and they're one step ahead by hey, that boot is kind of the bait to get away. Just again, him utilizing a space like this felt really impractical.
That's something I like about this sequence in general. Like I said, is just the space. Kind of the closed-in quality of it all.
Sure.
Surprise, motherfucker!
It's just a boot. Just randomly sitting there.
Just kind of
snakes on off. It's like a regular occurrence here on this planet, just random shoes. I mean, we keep vaporizing people's random shoes. I shouldn't be surprised.
Right.
Little snake drone getting out of here. Don't mind me.
There's a flying face.
I will say, I think you're kind of. I might have to give you the point on this one, Dragon. This stuff in the basement does go on a little long.
Yeah, I think so. Oh yeah, here we go.
I don't mind this. I mean, look, I'll say this though. I do love how these aliens move, but by the same token, I kind of like the '50s design a little bit more. But this is a good update on that, I guess. It's like the heads are the same shape, but I missed the Simon face. The Simon face was cool.
No. What if we see the alien come down through the door and it's ET?
However, there is an ET. There's an ET Easter egg in this scene.
Really? Where?
Yeah, it's well, you'll see it coming up. It's the bike. The bike from ET's in this scene.
Oh.
The basket and everything. You'll see when one of the aliens like drops the bike. So it's like a big little moment. Like, hey, this ain't no ET.
I actually think thematically this movie is an excellent counterpoint to Close Encounters.
Yeah, I think so.
It is, and it's Spielberg.
Like those are the good aliens. These are the bad aliens.
Exactly.
I heard Spielberg was going for at least the main thing Close Encounters he was kind of doing the opposite of was like a man who's not running away from his family.
I could see that. Or maybe it's almost kind of like an opposite arc from Close Encounters, where at the beginning of this movie, Cruz, like he's not necessarily running away from his family, but he's got a very troubled family.
Sure.
I will say my favorite part of these aliens is the way they move. I really love the legs.
It's like almost type of like a spider type.
Uh-huh.
We have kind of like the shotgun off coming up. And it's really tense. I'll give him that. Again, Spielberg knows how to do tension, but yeah, it kind of goes on a little bit.
Well, I mean, like I said, I do think all the stuff in the basement is well done for the most part. I will agree with you guys, though, that it does kind of present a pacing problem. So I'll kind of meet you halfway on this one.
And honestly, I think I would have. Oh, there's the bike. I would have liked an amalgam of. I wish they could have kept the legs on these aliens, but used like the hands and the kind of the face from the '50s version.
I think you're. No offense, Dragon. I think you're just a little too hung up on the '50s designs. I mean, this is a remake.
No, I'm not taking any points away. I'm just saying preferential wise. I mean, I just kind of like it better. But no, this is fine. It's a good update.
I do like how the aliens have the Disney eyes.
The thing about these aliens is I could see them being friendly, but they aren't, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Where'd the third guy come from? Lunch break.
I like how you can just still see the bike in the background.
Wouldn't great if one of those aliens took the bike too and just like tried to ride it.
No, they flew it up into the ship.
Oh god!
You know, I would love if there's like an animation. You know, in dailies, a lot of time animators like to have fun. Imagine if like one of the aliens jumped in the basketball. Just like saying that there's like a little caption that says "For you, Steven. Hope you like it."
Oh man.
And of course, here when they put 2 and 2 together about the terraforming here, this is quite frightening. Mm-hmm. The idea essentially is, now from my understanding of it, and again I could be wrong here, I'm pretty sure this lines up with what we see is happening. Is they're harvesting humans, hence the invasion, hence they harvest, they abduct the humans and kind of grind them into, basically they mix in a chemical with the blood and they spray that so they can terraform and like kill the germs. You use like the production of the germs to kind of immune yourself to it with whatever chemical they put in. The point is like they use the humans to grow these red vines, and once the plant's coated in these red vines, they can walk around freely.
Uh-huh.
What's that? Oh.
It's the claw.
The claw. Not quite.
Claw's making mulch out of them. Again, I do like the the terraforming idea. So yeah, I don't know if I'm just not getting enough credit with the whole basically my issue with the like plot wise is like the whole germ thing just still doesn't feel like we explained that well. And that look, it honestly just feels like it's a story element that's hard to convey. So I shouldn't be that hard on it. It's just something that still feels like we haven't quite gotten that right yet. Because even the '50s movie, it's like it's the aftermath of like, oh yeah, and that's the reason this happened. And we still kind of have that where that's the reason it happened. Only we do kind of hint at it a little bit more. So
except it's Morgan Freeman explaining how it happened, so it's way more epic than the '50s movie.
Yeah, that's about it. But still, I wish it was kind of like Morgan Freeman still talk about it, make it sound cool. I just wish we had like a little bit more of a like discover, like if someone sneezed in one of these guys' faces or something. Like I don't know, like that would have been. I don't know.
So I have, without getting into like too many details about my personal life, I have dealt with people like this in the past, and this movie is a good, accurate representation of what it's like. You know what I mean? Just like you cannot reason with these types of people. You cannot have whole conversations with these types of people.
He wants to build a subway underground.
Of course, the shame of it all is it's kind of for naught. But then again, you don't have this guy with a complicated things. It's just the alien probe's going to come down anyway. He's going to have to chop it to pieces, and just whether this guy was there or not, you never know. And that's the haunting thing about it. You don't know if like you just killed this man needlessly or not.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, him shielding the girl's innocent eyes here, but
I really like that kind of running theme in the movie. That honestly might be the best running symbol in the whole movie, the shielding the eyes. Good shot right there.
He's going swimming with bow-legged women.
Hushabye Mountain, I'm pretty sure that's from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
I think so. Gosh, that's a movie I haven't seen in years.
Oh my god. And it's Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is almost kind of like the 60s equivalent of Hook.
Yeah, I think
where
so.
it's like it's a super nostalgic movie, but there's so many things wrong with it.
By the way,
oh yeah.
With the Tim Robbins bit just now, with the Harlan bit, well, we're just going to call him Tim Robbins, so he's dead now, so there's no point trying to call him the character name.
How did he kill him?
What?
How did he kill him?
Well, I think
strangled him, I guess, right?
I thought he hit him with something, but yeah, sure. Point is, it's kind of funny him digging that hole. It's, of course, it's a little fourth wall Shawshank reference.
Yeah, yep.
Like this crazy man digging a hole. It's gotta be like someone had to realize that they're making this. Yes, Steven, you got Tim Robbins to go out as a crazy man digging a hole.
Now, what if that was Bill Murray instead of Tim Robbins?
Oh my god!
Well, then he could have come back to life as a zombie, and he would.
And it was like Wes Anderson, Bill Murray, so he's being all dramatic.
And he would know. Here's what Bill Murray would have done. He would have just said, "I accept that you're going to kill me now, but it's a nice day." It could be worse. It could be a Monday.
Oh my god! Now I really want to see a Wes Anderson version of this movie.
I don't understand why she's. Look, I get there's some danger there, but you think you'd be with the guy who's wielding the axe, who's trying to save you, right?
At this point in the movie, there's been so many logic problems like that. I kind of just let it roll off my shoulders.
Sure. See, here's the way he should have. Here's the way he would have found her instantly if he just shouted "Rachel" on the third one. That would have sent her out.
Okay, really, really cool practical set pieces right here.
Yeah. How did she get that far?
That's a very good question.
That's the logic question, Sandy. Like, one, why is she running away? Two, where is she, and how did she get far that fast?
Okay, the why is she running away I can accept because it's like kind of a fear-based, like flight or fight kind of response. But yeah, how she got this far makes no sense.
Yeah, it's haunting right there.
Yeah, this is like terror. It has to be terraform. It's the only logic I can. It's cool pseudoscience if that's what they're doing. But again, it's just creepy visual regardless. It's cool. You're not Rachel.
And I feel like we earned this. I feel like we really kind of spent the whole movie kind of building up these aliens, seeing them from ground level, and now we're about to really get inside of them. And I don't know. I think the movie does a really good job kind of like building to that.
It'd be kind of neat though if they we do build to this point. This again, the payoff here in the whole like the danger of being abducted and in the clutches and about to die.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's what the movie's about, and it would have been really neat. That's the thing. I'm just kind of realizing now. Yes, it's kind of all there. The whole, is this guy who keeps thinking he has a chance at getting away, and if we kind of laid on his own personal paranoia, like this thing's going to kill me, and I know it's going to kill me, it's going to get to me at some point, and then like them being realized of okay, I'm a goner now. It's like really staring me in the face. Like I don't know, maybe a little bit more fear, but it's still all there, so it's cool. Okay, this leads to one of my problems here. So this and later on with the shields. He's doing stuff that you mean tell me no military guy thought of doing this before the construction worker, really?
Mm-hmm.
No military guy thought of like, hey, we have grenades, and if one of us gets abducted by this thing, grenade. Honestly, if you had 6 or like however many ships there were, I mean, again, it's kind of crazy, and I guess like if it came down to it, the perverse idea would be like, hey, if 6 brave men are willing to risk their lives and to go with the grenades, we could kind of end this movie quicker.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie, right here. This whole
just swim down, Ray. Just swim down. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead a little there, but
What I like about these cages is that it kind of represents sort of the desperation of humanity, but they're in the situation kind of together, and it's sort of like, you know what I mean? It's almost kind of like the ultimate culmination of all the movie's themes. Where it's like, at the end of the day, when faced with their demise, humanity might scratch and claw at each other, but they're still going to remain together.
Yeah.
Especially with this whole idea of like, the people, like once we get into it, like them actively like trying to stop the people from getting sucked up. Like that is a good kind of subversion of the car scene.
I'll give you that. There's a good payoff there. There's a good like thematic symbol there. It's a good shot too, just them all pulling them down. Like kind of like swim down. I kept thinking that throughout this scene because it was literally like almost like a net of sorts. It's like
ugh.
Grenades. I'm the first guy who's thought of this.
Right.
And there's another military guy who also did not think of this. That's just not reflecting on anybody.
I think it's so creepy how it has kind of like an organic opening to the ship. You know what I mean? It's like, that is disturbing.
Yep. That's a good reveal, though. He just spits out the pins. See, that guy gets it, but he didn't think of it.
Right.
That's really satisfying to watch, really. That entire thing just blow up internally.
Yep.
All right.
Welcome to Boston.
Sorry, folks. We just kind of got caught up in the moment there for a minute.
Great scene.
And again, like honestly, the movie, in part, you feel like it could have ended here, but then again, there's the whole reveal. Like, we just took down one. There's still a bunch of these guys.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's when my shield thing comes into play here, where it's the fact that why do all the shields suddenly not work anymore?
I was wondering the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, the only assumption is I'm guessing it's like Phantom Menace thing. We're okay, so we took down, I guess, the one important ship conveniently. Now the rest of them, shields are down. You knock one down, you know the rest of them get.
Or to me, though, I didn't necessarily read it as that. I read it more as like the shields weren't prepared to deal with bacteria.
Well, maybe, and Tiki, you might absolutely be right, and that's my biggest problem with the germ thing. Again, it's not this movie's fault; it's just the fact that we still have not nailed that down with any of these things. Just like to express the germ thing right, where again, that's such a good idea. It's such a good ending, great way of what Morgan Freeman spells out for us is a beautiful idea of the whole. Humanity might get wiped out, but we've been here long. We've kind of earned the right. We have all these. Even our weaknesses are strength.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's a great idea. It's just really hard to express. And again, like the only thing I could ever think of, and I don't know if I've seen this somewhere once or what, maybe it was like a parody of like War of the Worlds, and I saw like them like a guy like sneezes in the alien's face or something. Like again, you have germs versus the aliens. It's such a good idea. Like it's been germs or water. It's been like kind of the two things that are gonna defeat the aliens. Like yeah, that's how you do bacteria and defeat. But when you have like a whole, it's kind of a problem. I guess it stems from again here, just looking at it, that we made them too unbeatable. Like the shields are a little too unbeatable, but that's kind of the point. We need them to be really hard to beat. But when we just do this one convenient thing, it just like, structurally, I think it hurts like the whole the menace of our guys.
So what are you implying here, Dragon? What do you think the reason for the shields being down is?
Again, there's no good reason, but I think Tiki's makes the most sense. I mean, otherwise, just like we destroyed the one in. Basically, it's like a unit. It's like a linked system. It's like Christmas lights. If you take one bulb out, then the rest of them, the rest of the shields go out. That's the only. It was the only. It's either that or Tiki's thing about just the bacteria succumb to them, and that's why they're getting sloppy now.
I mean, I really do think it's the bacteria thing because I think the bacteria thing is just something that they didn't account for, and therefore their technology, while able to withstand missiles and walls of fire, can't necessarily maintain something as simple as that.
I tell you, if that's the case, then the ships need to be more organic, like that one bit that we saw, like because the rest just look like metal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. I just don't understand like why we. I wonder this. I wonder if we made fewer ships, if this might have worked.
Could be.
Mean, that's the thing. Maybe that's honestly like one of these things. Of course, this big defeat of this one coming up here. This is a beautiful shot here, which crashes through the entire building. The scale of one is like like I think 3 at the most, maybe. Like that's probably what we. Again, these things have been dormant.
I feel like the problem with that is that you wouldn't necessarily have the worldwide tension if it was just 3.
Yeah, you have a point there. It's like honestly, if it were like that or like one per state or something, because these things have been lying dormant. That's because Spielberg didn't want to like.
I can see one per state / country.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So I guess that kind of begs the question: since these things have been in the ground for so long, how far advanced has the aliens' technology come since like they buried these things?
I'm actually really glad you bring that up right at the end, Sandy, because that's one of the things that always kind of fascinated me about the world building in this movie is that whole idea, kind of the super high tech futurism, mixed with kind of like literally these creatures that seem like they've been hiding underneath the earth for decades, if not centuries.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely centuries.
And I have no easy answer for it, but I like the ambiguity of it.
I think my theory would be I think my theory here is that these ships, the technology is too outdated, and so it works at first, but then it's too I guess too outdated to fully function.
I kind of like that. I don't really think anyone who's analyzed War of the Worlds has ever really come up with the outdated theory.
I kind of like that too, but again, it's all about how we communicate these ideas. Like even this,
you're right, Dragon. You're right.
Like this right here, of course, is the big image from the '50s movie, and this is a well captured moment here too, where again, like the awesome moment, with the alien hand just kind of plops down there, and the soldier, like the doctor, comes up there and like kind of touches it for a moment. Again, that's how you communicate the germ idea, and we see one of them just kind of expire. So, again, that's cool. It's just again, like we don't really explain until Freeman. It's kind of hard to, again, it's kind of a hard thing. Even the great Steven Spielberg couldn't quite crack.
Hey guys, I want to remind you. I just want to remind you. The last time we saw Robbie, he was running into a wall of fire. A wall of fire.
By the way, a little fun fact. Speaking of the '50s version, here's a cool cameo. The grandparents, they are the two leads from the '50s movie.
Well, isn't that special, Dragon? All I care about in the scene is the ridiculous Robbie stuff. This is maybe one of the biggest plot holes in any movie I've ever seen.
So, if the fireball wasn't, let me throw this at you, okay? If the fireball wasn't the fact that, okay, mister, I'm gonna fight the aliens, which of course, if 100 troops can't fight the aliens, what's one stupid kid That's one stupid kid gonna do, but the point is,
apparently not only did Robbie fight the aliens, but he also went on his own epic adventure.
It's look, this wouldn't have helped it at all. But if they wanted to really do something with this Robbie thing, they should have had him discover the whole shield or germ thing. And of course, it still would have been BS. How does this kid figure this out? I'm just saying, it would have been something.
At the very least, they need to give him some fucking injuries. At the very, very, very least.
Half his hair should be singed off.
That's what I'm saying. At the very least, his hair should be
just covered in a little dirt. That's about it. And again, here's the fact: Mr. Soldier Boy just ran home. That was his big brave move. I'm
yeah.
I'm gonna fight the aliens. No, I'm gonna run away.
No, that's a move I don't think Captain America would approve.
I'm gonna run to Grandma and Grandpa's house because I have nowhere else to go because I didn't think this through. Now we need Morgan Freeman to bail us out here. We got nothing.
I love that. That's literally the note that we go out on for the Tom Cruise storyline.
It's after a little family reunion. Basically, it's a mandated explanation of the ending because again, it's hard to communicate. And even the great Steven Spielberg, it's hard to communicate the whole cool idea of the movie here. That man's imperfections endure. That's kind of the big, awesome message of the movie. But again, in places we touch on this, and that's why I just feel in movies it's frustrating because there's some good stuff here, but it's just we don't mine it as well as we really need to. I think if we're going with the family story that we have here, I think the value, it's going full circle, we see kind of there's a value in the, we value the ties. This stuff vaguely ties into the family story of man's imperfections, of imperfect father, the imperfections of the germs of how humanity is flawed, but that's why it endures with the whole imperfect father story. I think that's what he's going for, but again, it just doesn't tie together.
Well, World of the Worlds, guys. What'd you think of it?
Yeah, guys, we got about 6 minutes of credits, and I don't necessarily want to talk over all of them, so let's kind of go roundtable and do final thoughts. Honestly, Dragon, I don't know about you, but I feel like this was a very productive conversation with both of us. I feel like I was able to kind of omit some of this movie's flaws and shortcomings, and I also feel like I was able to kind of talk you into some of the deeper messages of this movie and also just kind of some of the overall value this movie has. And so for that reason, I honestly think this might be one of my favorite Spielberg Month episodes that we've done. I really had a ball with this one. I think the different opinions that everyone had on this movie really kind of paved the way for a really fun conversation here, guys, and I thank you for that.
Yeah.
The only, like I said, the only other thing I have to say with this is I really do feel like this is an underappreciated Spielberg movie because it's clearly imperfect. I clearly have stuff in this movie that I literally just yell at every time I watch it. The Robbie stuff is just ridiculous. But like I said, at the end of the day, this is a movie of set pieces, and they're damn good set pieces. So is it the best Spielberg movie? No. Is it the best Spielberg characters? No. But it is some of the best sheer Spielberg spectacle, and I got to respect it for that. And not only is it Spielberg spectacle, but it's also Spielberg spectacle that's coming from a thinking man's place. That's coming from the place of mixing the 9/11 paranoia with the radio play paranoia. And so overall, I do think it's a success. Would I like it to have better characters? Sure, but for what it is, plot holes and ridiculous Robbie stuff and all, I do kind of love it.
I love how like the very last thing we see at the end of the movie, at the end of the credits, is the Amblin Entertainment logo with ET. Remember this movie? Yeah,
Remember when you cried when the alien died?
Yeah, yeah, you summed it up, Tiki. I mean, this movie definitely has its flaws. I stand exactly where I stood before we started watching it. So yeah, it's a flawed piece of work, but it's not horrible. The downfall is definitely the characters, Tom Cruise and Robbie and Rachel, and yeah, it's
Don't forget Cheryl.
with Cheryl too. Yeah,
I don't understand why Cheryl didn't get an Oscar nomination.
yeah, it's yeah. If I say anything else, I'm just gonna be rambling. It's fine. It's a fine movie.
Okay, Dragon.
Look, suffice to say, 2000s era Spielberg, can be dicey at times. It can be. I felt,
it's called The Terminal.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is dicey in The Terminal. The Terminal is a great movie aside from Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Well, Catherine Zeta-Jones is the Robbie of The Terminal, right?
Yes, but aside. Anyway. So look, I felt Spielberg, Spielberg can go off the reservation. During this area, Spielberg, he's kind of proven he can go off the reservation with the sci-fi in this area at times. And sometimes it works a lot better. Sometimes you go with like AI or this. But look,
I would not put this in the same category as AI.
But I'm saying again, it's in that Spielberg trying some off the reservation things, and you just kind of see where it's things that hasn't really. Some stories that again could have worked, but some went wrong along the way.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it didn't win me over like Minority Report did. That's the thing. Minority Report, I just went. It was surprising how much I liked that movie. Again, for me, it feels like the most Hollywood of Spielberg's films, and it's the least. And out of the ones we've covered, easily, it's the most kind of Hollywood, it's kind of the most like Spielberg just did a movie because he's Steven Spielberg versus like a guy who has a story he wants to tell. It just feels like a story like Spielberg just wanted to work with Tom Cruise again. He just needed an excuse, and this was it. I don't think his heart was in this one necessarily. It's but to be fair though, in all fairness, again, it's a story that's hard to get right because look, at the end of the day, my opinion, and I won't just sound like a War of the Worlds snob here. I always loved that conceit with the radio shows, the idea of like that was. You're telling a story in a way that's, you're kind of using the medium of radio and kind of subverting, and you're kind of doing this great kind of meta thing on the side where it's like, hey, we're using the medium of radio to freak people out as if it's an actual broadcast going on there. So again, that's a clever idea, and that was like a way to tell that story unlike any other. And then we just kind of tell the story straightforward like the book, and again, it just kind of goes as well as how much you want to tell the book and how much you want to kind of tell from whatever character's perspective. So, I felt like Spielberg was forcing some of his sensibilities into a story where it didn't fit. At the end of the day, I think that's why the film just, in my opinion, doesn't work. It's a lot of it's like all spectacle, no story for me.
All right.
Again, it has its set pieces, but again, I need more of that. I want a stronger story, and I'm. It's not the worst. It's not the worst thing. It's not the worst thing out of Spielberg's repertoire. But out of Spielberg month so far, it's the least impressed I've ever been by Spielberg month. So
worse than Hook.
Worse than Hook, yes, for me.
Okay.
I can enjoy Hook more than this.
And worse than Lost World.
I'll give you okay. You know what? It's just I can still watch bits. I can still watch a lot of Lost World.
Man,
I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't go back.
I mean, I guess that's obviously a personal thing for me because Lost World, as we've already described, is my eternal Phantom Menace. But
look, at the end of the day, this one. It's I don't see myself watching this one rewatching this one anytime soon. The other ones,
me neither.
I could.
I mean, I don't necessarily either. I don't think that makes it a bad movie, but.
Oh no! It's not a bad movie, but it's not you're not gonna watch it over and over again.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's like the worst thing Spielberg's ever done. I'm just saying it definitely has to have my own preference of Spielberg's one. Just it's not my taste of Spielberg, and it's just my taste of Spielberg. It's just not
okay.
Not my
it was big enough to the point where they left the setup at Universal, so that says something.
That's true. That's true. All right. So next time, folks, we are going to be talking about another underappreciated Spielberg blockbuster, which is the animated movie, The Adventures of Tintin. Now, Sandy, you have a couple interesting sort of connections to this movie. You want to share that with the folks?
Yeah, I suppose so. Not exactly to the movie itself, but the animated series on the podcast I host over on my channel. A few months back, we talked with Susan Roman, who did all the barking sound effects for Snowy in the original Canadian 2D animated series. Susan has not seen the new movie or newer movie for I guess some sort of a personal grudge.
She was replaced by a dog, man. She was replaced by a dog. Can you blame her?
Yeah, that's pretty much it, though. I mean, I love Tintin. I've had Tintin posters hanging in my room since I was very, very little. My family has a deep love of Tintin and carried over to myself. I love the 2D animated series. I love watching it.
Nice.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be next time, folks. And in the meantime, stay tuned for more Spielberg. A wall of fire!